Hey guys, in today's video we're going to be working on my buddy Edward's Ender 3 Max Neo. And if you guys aren't familiar with this printer, it's got a big build volume. It's 310 by 320 millimeters. And the printer has got a lot of awesome features right out of the box. It has dual lead screws with a timing belt. Comes with the CR Touch. It uses a 4.2.2 main board and an Ender 3 V2 color display. What we're going to be doing today is installing Mainsail Klipper on BIGTREETECH's Raspberry Pi dock along with a CB1. Guys, if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing, turn on your notification bell, and leave some comments. I love reading the comments and do my best to get back to you guys as soon as I see it. These are the parts we're going to be installing. So we got the PI4B adapter board. And it comes with a little pad. So there's the board. And this one's a little bit different than the Pi 4 because I'm not sure if the Pi 4 comes with a USB-C, but this needs a USB-C end for power. So you gotta make sure you have one of those. And yeah, everything else is just like the Pi. It's got the same header pin configuration. Pretty cool. Okay, next thing we got here is the CB1. And I'll leave links to all this in the video description if you guys want to do this mod. Got a little antenna here. Here's a little thing right here. And this thing just snaps into this other part. See how they have the little thing there. So you notice how it's offset. It's closer to one side than the other. So just line them up just like this and push it down. And let's take a look at the last part. So the last part is a heat sink. And when I did my install on my Manta M5P, I hadn't ordered this, but this is important and it's very inexpensive. I want to say it's like $5. So get this if you decide to pick up the CB1 and either use it with any of the Manta series boards, or if you're going to use it with this PI4B adapter. This is a good thing to have. And it brings screws. Alright, so I'm just going to push this thing together. And again, you got short side and a long side, so it goes like this. And once you kind of get it lined up, you can feel it, then just press down on it to seat it. And it doesn't look like it's seated on one side. There it goes. Okay. And then I'm going to be using this, so I'm going to go ahead and install this thing. And it looks like this thing has to go like this. Okay, yeah. So it goes with the notched side facing the Wi-Fi module, because you want to leave the little antenna port exposed. And actually probably now would be a good idea to put that antenna wire on, otherwise this will be in the way if you wait till later. Alright, so if you look carefully here at this thing, it's a tiny little connector, and it just pushes on right here. So once you get it lined up, just put some pressure on it and and snap it on, just like that. See that? It does come with a little pad. I might stick with the pad just to keep it cleaner. All right, it's an adhesive pad on both ends. Okay. I guess it can go just like that. All right, so it's got two films on it because it's sticky. And then you want to pull off the other film. And then just put the thing down on it. And the screws are just barely long enough. This was not long enough at all. Let's see what's going on with this. Oh, I see. They got different length screws. All right. Let's get that one out of there. Okay, so you got long screws and you got short screws. Yeah, I got lucky with this one. I put the right size in. Okay, so that's the long one. And then it just gets this little nut on the bottom. See that? And you just want to snug it down. You don't want to torque it a lot because see how it has that space underneath there? You don't want to flex that fiberglass board. So just a little bit snug, and that's all you need. And I did it again. Yeah, it's kind of tricky because it like teeters one side to the other. So you gotta screw them down evenly. Okay, so another thing that I noticed here. If you look at this thing carefully, it's got a flat side and then it has a beveled side. So you want the flat side to be towards the board. It's like this one here is upside down. So the flat side towards the board. Otherwise it's not going to screw in. Now, another really interesting thing is that these little nuts are made of plastic. That's why they're kind of difficult to thread. It's because you're creating the thread as you're putting the screw on it. All right, perfect. Cool. All right, so let's get the little case that I'm going to mount this in. And on a previous video, I had made a couple of enclosures for my Ender 3V2. And what I noticed is that the bottom of this printer, at least the front half of it, is identical to the Ender 3V2. So any accessory that's underneath will work for this printer. So here's the case. I'm going to go ahead and mount this thing in here. And I already have the little port for the accelerometer ready to go. So if he decides that he wants to add that, the plug will be here. And then the little port is right down here for the card. Oh, I forgot about this. All right, so with these pie boards, if you're trying to use this 3mm screw on it, these holes are going to be too tight, so you have to drill them out a little bit. So what I'm going to use is a 1/8 inch drill bit, and I just have this on this little hand thing. So I'm just going to drill the fiberglass board a little bit. And you don't want to agitate this dust, and it's probably a good idea to wear some type of dust mask, because you don't want any of these fibers in your lungs. All right, now I'm just gonna go outside and just blow this off with some compressed air, and then we'll put the screws on. So you see how I ran it? So I got it underneath my little riser, and then I'm just gonna stick it right there. Okay, so there's the antenna. There it is right there. All right, cool. My little slot for the card. All right, and then the buck converter, we're going to solder it up first, and then we'll mount it in this box. All right, let's remove the screen. We're not going to need this anymore. And let me prop it up real quick. Okay, so we're going to be removing the parts drawer. So just pull this little rail end cap off and slide the drawer out. And I'm going to be swapping out the main case as well, just so that everything looks uniform and it matches. There's a screw on the top here, and it's a screw that's close to this bed rail. And pay attention to the lengths. This one is the longest of the screws, followed by the one that was on top. See those there? And then these two are the shortest. And this is just in case you guys are going to reinstall the original cover. In my case, we're replacing it, so we're not going to be using those screws again. Unplug your fan. And then we got to take these two big screws off here. And then there's one more screw on the top here. It's kind of hard to get to because of the bed, so you're going to have to use the Allen key, the 90-degree short side of the Allen key, to loosen it. And then finally these two bigger screws that are screwed to the end rail. And before I unscrew it completely, I'm going to unmount the board from here and just let it hang. There's 4 screws. And we're not going to be reusing the screen, so we can pull that off. It might have some hot glue on it, so you may have to pick that hot glue off. And once you got it off, here's that hot glue, so you got to pick that off. I'm just going to try to get it off with my finger. And if you can't pick it off with your finger, you can use the blue cutters that came with your printer to grab it and pull it away from the plastic. You just got to be careful not to cut any of your wires. Okay, we can take this ribbon cable out. We don't need that anymore. And then finally take off the last screw. And we'll remove this whole metal plate. To fasten the new box, you're going to need a couple of T-nuts. So these are some 4mm T-nuts and some 4mm by 6mm long cap Allen screws. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just put the screws in and just start them. So then we can line up these T-nuts with the rail. And the way this holds on is it uses the little groove in the side rail. It slides in here. And then also while you're doing this, you want to make sure that you align these T-nuts in here, and then just slide it down. Once you have it all the way back, flush, tighten up those screws. And then you can remount the board. Okay, next thing is to get 2 more T-nuts and 2 more 4mm by 6 cap screws, and do the same thing with the bottom enclosure. So you want to put the small end is going to go towards the printer. The big end goes towards the Raspberry Pi. Okay, so this side is going to plug in here, and this side is going to plug to the CB1. All right, so let's take this power supply cover off. So if you look carefully here at the power supply, you have these first 3 on the right hand side. The first 3 terminals are for the positive of the 24 volts, and then the following 3 terminals are the negative, and then the last 3 are the AC line input. So you have the line input, the neutral, and then the shield. So we're just going to be adding one here next to this red one, and then one here next to the black one. And I'm just using some wire that I had left over from another project. If you guys have never used these terminals before, there's a specific way to crush them. So if you look carefully here, you can see that there's a seam. There's a little seam right here. So that seam, you don't want to squeeze down one end of that seam or the other end. You want to squeeze from the pin has to go from the back side. So let me show you what I mean. When you put this tool on it, you want the tool to go on like this. Okay? So when you crush down on this, the part with the seam stays intact, but you're pushing the solid piece of metal on the other side up towards the seam side. If you do it this way, if you have this turned this way and you crush it, what you're going to do is you're going to break that seam, and it's not going to go down evenly. And if you have it turned over like this, even worse, you'll probably cut the wire. So you want to always have it this way, just like this. Okay? And I like to twist the ends to keep them from coming undone. Once you got it in here like this, you just want the wire poking through. And let me show you. I'm going to grab this. It's like this. I'm just going to crush it. See how it pushes that thing up in there? And this is not going to come off. So just like before, straddle that seam with the arc and then push the pin in. And that's it. So there you go. I'm going to flip this lid back, loosen this terminal, and loosen this one. All right, so these pins were designed to work with an Noctua fan. But since we're not using a Noctua fan, this one's a little bit different. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to fill the holes with a little hot glue, and then I'm just going to put the fan on. And it should work out just fine. And I'm just going to hold it there till it cools off, and then it should stick. All right, let's do the same thing to the other side. Now to fasten the cover to the enclosures, you're going to need 4 of these screws for each side, and these are number 4 by 3/8 inch long. It's a countersunk screw, kind of like a stainless drywall, but it's real short. All right, so I'm going to solder the buck converter wires on here first, then we'll adjust it. All right, now that we got it mounted, we just need to adjust the voltage. So to do that, I'm just going to use this voltmeter, set it to volts, and then switch it from AC current to DC current. And then I'm going to change the range. And you can see there we're at 20 volts. Let me see if I can do this in a way you guys can see it. I'm just turning it counterclockwise till I get to 5 volts. Okay, I got it all adjusted so it's 5 volts, and now I'm just going to plug it in. And then next, let's head over to the computer and install the image on the CB1. Just do a search for BIGTREETECH, and you have 2 choices. You can go to the BIGTREETECH products site, or what we need is the BIGTREETECH GitHub. So we're going to click on that. And up here, you're going to search for the board that we're going to use. In our case, we're going to be using a CB1. And here we have the BIGTREETECH CB1, and it says OS system image. This is what we want. And then we're going to scroll down to where it says OS image, and we want the latest image. Click on that. And the latest one is version 2.3.2. I'm going to click on that. We're going to scroll down, and there's 2 different ones that you can pick up. I'm going to pick up the larger one. This is the one that I used, and it worked just fine for me. And I've already downloaded it. It takes a little while to get. So I already have it here. And to install it, we're going to be using the Raspberry Pi imager, raspberrypi.com. You want software, and you want to download the imager. So just select the appropriate operating system. In my case, it's going to be Windows, but it's also available for Mac OS and Ubuntu. I already have it installed, so I'm not going to install it again. I'm just going to open it up here. And then what you want to do next is you want to scroll all the way down to the very bottom, and you're going to have a choice that says use custom. That's the one that you want. Click on that, and then you're going to go to wherever it is you downloaded your image file to. I have it here. I'm going to select it, click open. Next thing you're going to select is the storage device that you're going to put it on. So for me, I'm going to be using this USB card. So it's a micro SD, and it's this one here on the bottom. So I'm going to select it. And you don't have to do anything with the cog wheel. You can leave this all blank. You don't need to do anything here because the image works a little bit different than the standard Raspberry Pi image. Once you have these two things selected, select write. It's going to prompt you that it's going to erase and format the SD card. Select yes. All right, once that's done, we need to make some changes to a couple of files. So go to the drive, and inside of the boot folder, which is the root folder when you go into the drive, there are some changes we need to make. The first one is over here under system.cfg. You want to right click on it and edit with Notepad++. And in this part here, you need to add your SSID information. Put your SSID information in this field, your password in this field, and then save the file. Another thing that you need to change is going to be here in board env.txt. Go ahead and open that with Notepad++. And in here, we're going to add the following lines. We're going to grab this part right here. And I'll leave this file in the video description. That way you guys can use it. And just come up here to the top, enter twice, and then paste this information in there. Once that's done, click save. And then eject the SD card and boot it for the first time. First thing we need to do is let's open up the Ender 3v2 Mainsail Klipper flashing guide. And I realize that this is more for the Raspberry Pi, but there's a lot of stuff in here that we can reuse. So let's open it. And we're going to need a few pieces of software. Okay, on page 13, there's a link here for Wireless Network Watcher. If you don't already have that, download that. And also, you're going to need PuTTY. On page 14, there's 2 links for that. And then maybe WinSCP. So just pick up both those softwares and install them. And then we'll look for the CB1. What you want to do next is head over to the place where you have the Wireless Network Watcher installed and launch it. And what you want to look for is these this BTT-CB1.LAN. Now I realize that I have 2 of them here because I'm running another BIGTREETECH board, but the IP addresses are different. So this one is already all set up, and it's showing the network adapter community. The new one that we just installed is blank currently. So what you want to do is you want to right click on this and go to properties. and you want to copy this IP address. So you can highlight it in blue, hold the control key down on the keyboard, and then tap on the letter C. That'll copy it. And then let's drop it here in the browser tab. Press enter. And right now Klipper is in an error state. First thing we want to do is head over to the machine icon, click on that, and over here on the update manager, you want to refresh this list. So let's click check for updates. Now that the update is complete, let's open a PuTTY session. And you're going to paste the same IP address that you used earlier. Make sure that SSH is selected and click open. You're going to get this pop-up warning. Just select yes. And the default login is BIQU for the login name and BIQU for the password. Once we're in, we're going to open our Mainsail Klipper flashing guide. And the first thing that we want to do is check communication between the PuTTY session and the printer. And to do that, we're going to use on page 15 this ls/dev/serial/by-id/*. So just copy that. Head back to PuTTY, right click to paste, press enter. And if you get a response like this in blue, you're good to go. That means you're communicating with the printer. Now, if you don't get this response and you get some kind of an error, it's very likely that there's a problem with the cable between the Raspberry Pi and the printer. So just replace the cable, find another one. A lot of times the cables all look the same, but some of them are charge-only cables and they lack the data wires inside. So you got to make sure that you get this response. If not, swap out the cable for a different one. Okay, so we can minimize this for now. Next thing we need to do is we need to flash the printer. So let's go back to the guide here. To flash the control board, we're going to select this first line here. And this is for flashing a 4.2.2 Creality board. So if you're flashing a different board, the settings may differ. Let's copy this first one, go back to our PuTTY session, paste it. Okay, let's go to the next one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this over here to the right. And then we'll have the PuTTY session on the left. We'll go back and forth. All right. Okay, so let's copy the next line. So this would be the make menu config, copy, paste, enter. And on this screen, we got to change a couple of things. So let's uncheck this first one here. Let me see, enable low-level configuration options. We want to press the space bar here. And then we want to go down to the next one, which is microcontroller architecture. And let's see, that one looks correct. Let's go down to the next one, processor model. This one needs to be changed. Press the right arrow on the keyboard. And we want to select STM32F103. So we're going to scroll up till we find that. It's the first one on the top. Press the space bar to select it. tab down to the next one. You can also use arrow down. Bootloader offset, press the right arrow, and we need to select 28 KIB. So use your arrow up to get to it. Once it's highlighted, press the space bar. And then we also need to change the communication interface. Once it's highlighted, right arrow. We want to change this one to PA10/PA9. So down one arrow, press the space bar, and now we're good to go. So now we can press the Q for quit, Y for yes, and then we're going to scroll to the next section here. We're going to select make. So you can Control C to copy or right click copy, paste into PuTTY, press enter, and it's going to create our flash file. All right, now that that's complete, let's launch WinSCP. And we're going to have to go back and make sure that you copy this IP address again. I'm just highlighting it, copy. Go to WinSCP. It says there's a new version. I'm not going to do this now. I'm going to click on new site. And then you can leave the protocol default. Under host name, you're going to put the IP address. Leave the port as default. And we want to change the username to BIQU. Password also BIQU. And you can save it. We'll just save it here, okay? And log in. You're going to get this warning again. Just select yes. BIQU is the password. Okay, now that we're in, you want to head over to the Klipper folder. And you want to go to the folder that says out. And in here, there's a clipper.bin. This is the one that we're going to use to flash our printer. So just right click it, copy, and let's put it on the, where do I want to put it? I'm going to put it on my desktop for now. Make sure I don't have any other one in here. I'm going to right click and paste it. And it's asking me, do I want to move it? Yeah. Oh, it looks like I already have one there. Yeah, let's override it. All right. So now what we want to do next is we want to get an SD card. And this is going to be an SD card that we're going to need to format. So make sure you got your data off of it. And we're only going to need this once. So we want to format it. So just right click, format. And FAT32 default is okay. 4096 bytes allocation is what you want. And the label doesn't matter. Select start. It's going to prompt you, it's going to erase. Click OK. Once that's done, head back to the desktop where you downloaded the bin file. And let me find it here. So I'm just going to right click it, send it to the SD card. And I'm going to double check it, make sure that it's there. Yes, it is. All right, let's head over to the printer and flash it. All right, so get your SD card, and we're going to install it on the control board. We're going to power down the printer. power the printer back up. And that should be it. Alright, so now let's go back to the computer and check and see if we have any errors. Alright guys, a quick update. So I had to move the little antenna mount from here, and thankfully it lined up with the buck converter screw and one of the other screws for an additional buck converter. And the reason I had to move it is because the fan, the back of the fan, was hitting this piece because I didn't design it with that much clearance. So anyway, so I just relocated it and now everything is good to go. I wanted to give out a shout out to Doug O'Connor for donating these fans to the cause. They work really good. Alright, there you have it. Let's switch it on, check it out. Alright. Alright, let's jump back over to Klipper and make sure we don't have any errors. Alright, let's go back to our browser. Let's refresh this. Alright, so now we're getting MCU communication, so that's good. Next thing we need to do is we need to load a printer.cfg. So this thing is essentially an Ender 3 V2 with a bigger build plate. So what I'm going to do is, and I'll include this in the video description, that way if you guys want to use my already completed printer.cfg for an Ender 3 V2, you can. And I'm just going to head over to machine, right click on this, download. And then go back to the new session that we created. And let's see here. So there's currently a printer.cfg, but it's probably blank. So let's look inside. Yeah, it's pretty much blank. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this printer.cfg. So I'm going to X out of it, go back to machine, right click on it, delete, and now it's gone. And now what we want to do is we want to upload the file that we just got from the other Klipper session. So I'm going to click upload. I'm going to go to my downloads folder, and here's my printer.cfg. I'm going to click open. All right, now that I have that loaded, I'm going to refresh this. I'm going to restart the firmware. All right, we got an MCU error. Let's see here, unable to open SPI device. Oh, okay. So let me show you how to fix this error here. So the reason that we're getting this is because in the printer.cfg, the ADXL345 doesn't have any pin assigned to it. And since this thing is not really a Raspberry Pi, but BIGTREETECH's version of one, the pins are different. So we need to come in here to this file, and we need to grab these two lines right here. Copy that, and we're going to replace this section here. And another thing you want to do is set up your probe points. So to do that, I'm just going to backspace this twice, and then leave a space between the colon and the first value. In this printer has a 310 by 320 bed. So I'm going to select the center of 310. So 155. And then 160 for the Y, and then the X is okay. So the Z is okay. So we'll leave that alone at 20. So that means when you're gonna run the accelerometer test, it'll put the nozzle at the center of the bed, which is typically where you're gonna start printing at, and it's gonna put the bed also in the center. And it's going to be 20 millimeters off the build plate. Alright, so we're just going to save and restart. And what's happening here? Okay. And there we go. So we don't have any errors now. The MCU for RPI is recognized. That means that when we install our accelerometer, we'll be able to use it. Alright guys, I'm going to follow up with additional videos on this printer. In the next video, we'll go over replacing the hot end and then calibration. Alright guys, if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing, turn on your notification bell, and leave me some comments. I love reading the comments and do my best to get back to you guys as soon as I see them. Alright, this video is a wrap. Till the next one guys, take care.